Eighth graders, this is to help you with question 5 on CR24. I think I might show you 2 ways to go about this. The first thing I'm going to do is just leave it in fraction form. Okay, so I have x's on the left-hand side of that equal sign and x's on the right-hand side of that equal sign. I've got to move all my x's to one side. I'm choosing to move my 5/8 x. That way I don't have a 0 left on this side of the equal sign. So I'm going to subtract 5/8 x on each side. 5/8 x minus 5/8 x, bye-bye. On the left-hand side, I'm left with a negative 12. Now you do have your calculators you can use, but I'm just going to go ahead and show you 1/2 x minus 5/8 x in order to subtract. So over here is my scrap. In order to subtract fractions, you need a common denominator. So my common denominator would be eighths, because I can multiply 1/2 numerator and denominator by 4. 1 times 4 is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. So now I have 4/8 x minus 5/8 x. All I have to do is worry about my numerators. Signs are different. I find the difference. I keep what I have more of. 5 minus 4 is 1. I have more negatives. I keep my negative. So on this side, I have negative 1/8 x. What's the operation between the negative 1/8 and the x? That's multiplication. How do I undo multiplication? I undo multiplication using division. If I'm going to divide the right-hand side of this equal sign by something, I have to go to the left-hand side and divide it by the same number. In order to get a coefficient of 1 in front of x, I must divide this by negative 1/8. That, whatever number's in front of the x is what you divide by. So then I go to the other side, and you'll notice I'm doing that division in the last step. Kids keep wanting to divide way too soon on these. So if I'm dividing the left-hand side of my equal sign by negative 1/8, I have to divide the right-hand side of my equal sign by negative 1/8. Negative 1/8 divided by negative 1/8, fancy form of 1. 1 times x you can just write as x. So now I have negative 12 divided by negative 1/8. Negative 12 divided by negative 1/8. Keep, change, flip, or find a common denominator. Those are your options here for dividing fractions. So if I have negative 12, that's the same as negative 12 over 1. I'm going to keep that. Change my division to multiplication, flip over this second fraction, make that 8 over 1, negative 8 over 1. Negative times a negative is a positive. 8 times 12, I think, is 96. It's kind of a guess. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 1 is 8, and 1 is 9. Good. Positive 96. So x is a positive 96. This, I believe, would be the symbol for empty set. I don't think that's a 0. That would be if there was no solution. I can show you a second way to go about this. So this is method 1. Just leaving the fractions and dealing with them. Method 2, some people like to clear the fractions. So if you have 5/8 x minus 12 equals 1/2 x, you could multiply each term in this equation by the common denominator of 8. So I can multiply 5/8 by 8. I can multiply negative 12 by 8. And I can multiply 1/2 by 8. These 8's, fancy form of 1, those cancel out. Here I'm now left with 5x minus 12 times 8 is 96 equals 1/2 times 8 is 4. So I have a 4x here. The whole point of doing this method is to clear out that denominator. It's just another option for you. And as long as you multiply every term in an equation by the same value, the equality remains. So now again, I'll just move all my x's to the right-hand side of this equal sign. 5x minus 5x, bye-bye. Here I have negative 96. 4x minus 5x is negative 1x. Divide both sides by negative 1. Negative divided by a negative is a positive. 96 divided by 1 is 96 equals x. Either way, you come up with 96 equals x. You have your calculators, so you didn't even have to go through all this work. You could have punched the numbers into the calculator. The only downside to the second method is you have to make sure you multiply every term by that common denominator to clear out the fractions. Pick a method and roll with it. I hope that helps.